Hello and welcome. I'm Darren. Today we are going to check out a bit of Ratchet and Clank. We're going to do a little bit of a comparison. So at this moment in time we are running on the RTX 4080. This is paired with a 13700K. I believe it's got DDR6000. I'm not actually sure. So I'll make that probably quite clear. I think probably people that watched the channel before would already know. Probably people that might not have or are new to the channel, maybe not so much. But this is never going to be a complete apples to apples comparison. My 4080 is paired on a different system. So that's paired with an Intel 13700K. My 9070 XT is on a full AMD system. So that's paired with a 7800X3D. They're two different systems. They've got different motherboards, they've got different system memory. They're both running 32 gigabytes. I believe they're both 6,000. I'm not sure if they're both on the same timings. So it's never going to be a perfect apples to apples comparison, but that doesn't really matter too much because we're not worried so much about performance. If there's a couple of FPS in between, then that could easily be down to the different systems. So effectively, this is more a look at DLSS4 and FSR4, which is why I'm sat in this position stationary for a couple of minutes. And then we're going to shift over, we're going to do a bit of gameplay. We're going to run them both at the same settings, just for this kind of section here, where there's a bit more going on, but there's not too many cutscenes or craziness going on, I don't think. Just to check out. So we will go into the games. Not through there, we won't. No, don't do all this to me. We'll go into the game settings menu and we're going to run them both at the same settings because DLSS4 is very centered around its performance at performance upscale. So this could probably look better, obviously, at balanced or quality, and we've got the performance to use more aggressive upscaling, but we're just going to check out. You know, obviously when AMD did their showcase for FSR4, they were also running this game using the performance level of upscale at 4K. So we're just going to go with that. Now, this might favour FSR4, it might favour DLSS4. I don't know myself until I look at this footage back. Maybe moving to quality upscale, maybe that will do better for DLSS, maybe that will do better for FSR4. I'm not sure, but we'll do this video, and then if it looks like it really does give an advantage to one or the other, we can check them out at quality and see if there's any real visual difference or anything that really does stand out and makes them a bit more on par even when they're at quality level of upscale, because I think they've got the performance maybe to do that anyway. I think so. But anyway. So we'll quick go through the settings. Obviously we're at full screen. We are at 4K. We have VSync turned off, we have low latency turned off. I noticed that the frame time seemed a bit smoother without it, and that does happen in some games. Some games reflex works really well, some games reflex has a bit of a negative tendency. Now, whether that's down to how Reaver Tuner reports it, I'm not sure, because sometimes I see the Reaver Tuner frame time graph can look a little bit spiky, but in actual gameplay it seems fine. So that's maybe something to look out for, and definitely for anyone that's maybe even watching this that's new to NVIDIA. Low latency isn't always, you don't really need it in a lot of these games when you're using like pretty fast gear nowadays. You've got high frame rates. The low latency, yes, that can be handy in your competitive shooters, but I wouldn't always worry about turning it on. Now, if it's running smooth with it on, perfectly fine. But it's always a good one, I find, to check if you've just got a little bit of a dodgy looking frame time. Sometimes turn it off and see if that's the culprit. It can be sometimes. So yeah, we've got frame generation off. We're using DLSS. We're at performance. I have turned on the latest version. So it's set to latest in the NVIDIA app. I'm going to assume this is DLSS4. It does look very clean. It was very sharp. So there's no reason for me to think it's not running at DLSS4. Obviously, dynamic resolution scaling is turned off. So we have everything cranked. Now, when I ran this game on the 9070 XT the other day, I didn't realise that shadow quality went to ultra. So I'm going to have to check back and make sure I'm not going to use that video to obviously coincide with this one. We're going to make a new video on the 9070 XT straight after this. So very high, 16 times, we're on ultra there. Obviously ambient occlusion has been replaced by RT, so screen space reflection is very high. All the RT stuff's very high. We're going to leave the object range at 6, which is the default. Ultra there, very high. And then the kind of could interfere with stuff, so depth of field bloom, chromatic aberration and vignette are off. Motion blur is down to 0. FOV we've left normal, film grain we've turned off, and sharpness I've put to 8 on this as well. There's room to do it either way, obviously. Set these up to your own preferences. We'll run them both at 8. That could mean that one looks a lot sharper than the other, but it's just when you've got the general image and stuff flickering and all the rest of it, if there is anything like that. You can kind of make your own interpretation on whether you'd, for your own personal use, want to either you know, have a softer image or a sharper image. So that's it. We'll play a little bit. I think this is gonna, the reason I did it is I can't actually move at the moment until I interact with this person, so it made it quite good that I should, as long as I don't hit a save point, be able to come back to here and line up an image again with my head over that dustbin, which is pretty much where I was just at. So that's my reason for doing it. I've got a feeling when I did this the other day, it kind of made me do something, so yes, just hold it. Hold to buy. Brilliant. Okay.
More goons incoming.
No. There's those things behind me. I felt like there was one. Ooh.
One more to go.
No, we've run out of ammo. I will select Y when you go away. Owned him. Right, we need ammo. That's what we need. That wasn't the way to do it. How do I get my hammer out? That way. It's a lot. I've scared them now. Just shotgun them. I've just bashed that person. Oh, there's a shit ton of ammo over here. I don't think I saw that last time. I don't know if you actually... Do you pick up your bolts when you... In fact, before we go anywhere, we're just going to have a quick run around here and have a look, because this image looks very good. All the tree details look incredibly... Like, it's hard... I don't know how this stuff comes across on YouTube. What I know is it gets completely watered down and smeary and smudged and horrible. But the level of detail in DLSS4 and FSR4 at performance upscale is now really something that is quite incredible to witness. Let's have a look up there and just see. Yeah, so those lights wobble a little bit up. Where's my gun? I think we were looking at that the other day. If I look through that glass, it goes funny, obviously, but I think we were looking on FSR4 the other day. And you can kind of see a little bit where the... Might be a little bit... Nah, there's a little bit there. I can't point at it without going back to that. That's a little bit annoying. But we were looking up at the lights the other day. They're holding very stable, actually, on DLSS. There's a little bit of a smear. Should have probably gone to somewhere where I could get a better look at that. We're going to have to go and fight these dudes. Or not.
Put down the Dimensionator, Nefarious.
Put down the Dimensionator. Yeah, right. Today, you will see what losing feels like. Spoiler, it's exhausting. As soon as I figure out these stupid coordinates.
His head did something funny then.
Bye. Hey! What did you do?
Oh, it's the dinosaurs.
What just happened?
We may have a slight problem.
The bridge is shot. There has to be another way across.
The rifts are reacting to the phase quartz in your glove. Try pointing it at one of them.
I think you could kind of see in the cutscenes that there was a couple of times when his fur looked a little bit funny. I'm trying to see in this. I'm gonna have to get past this.
This is definitely gonna come in handy.
Maybe. Oh, god damn it. Come on, I'm trying to look at stuff. I'm trying to think if his tail fur looks a bit funny. I'd have to drop down, and I'm not going to because I'd have to restart it. So I don't want to drop to a different upscale just to see if that cleans it up. A less aggressive upscale, should I say. Because if it's... I don't know if it looks a little bit... You see how it comes down his tail? Where it looks like there's a bit of a secondary kind of image off the side of his tail. Yeah, it's got like a little bit of a fuzz look to it. It's not bad. I mean, you're going to... In your general gameplay, you're not going to notice that or really be bothered by it, I don't think. But I'm going to point it out. Ooh. Oh shit, wasn't supposed to do that.
Nefarious is paying these guys.
Not nearly enough.
Oh no. You're not baddies. Shit, what did I just get hit by? Oh, the dogs. Whoa. Too much going on. Oh, there's water in there. Well, that's a good thing. We can check out the water. Water kind of looks watery. I'm not sure how it should look. Without looking at native, it's just one of those things that you just... Like all of this stuff here looks incredible. Very clean. Is that thing just going to keep doing that? Because that's quite annoying when I'm trying to... So, let's just see if there's any distant details. Like those kind of... There's not a lot of fine detail. The top of those pointy bits there, they hold up very well on side to side. Stuff like that you can normally see will distort or disappear, whereas that's holding up very well. There's a little bit of distortion just down this side edge of this building here that you can see when it... maybe not. It's not doing it now. Maybe that's because that thing was going on. Whatever those things are holding up quite well. Even those ones out in the distance. Look, it's amazing how this level of upscale actually still retains these tiny little fine details out there. That's so impressive. Some of it you can tell it's struggling with. I'm not sure if his tail fur should look like that. I don't think it should. The rest of him looks alright. The detail on his little hat and stuff is awesome. And the metallic look of whatever his little sidekick is on his back. I take it. One of them's Ratchet, one of them's Clank, right? Without me sounding stupid, but all of this vegetation up here is like pristine. and out there with like shadow detail and stuff like that. All of these little loops hold up pretty damn well on movement. There's a little bit of loss in them on movement, but you're talking like a very small amount. To the point of, I wouldn't be surprised if just with native details like that would do a similar thing. I don't know if they're supposed to be. No, I think they are supposed to be sparkling. I think they're supposed to be like electricity. You could probably say there's a little bit of some type of flicker around the rim. When you zoomed in, it's not. Zoomed out, it's a little bit just on that edge there where I'm pointing. I mean, again, in gameplay, that ain't something that you're ever going to notice. Right, let's go in here.
Whoa, watch your head. This is worse than I had imagined.
Let's get the shotgun.
Sand sharks from above.
Yeah, let's shot him. Boom. Sorted. Oh. The old ray trace reflections look pretty damn good. Performance is good. We got loads of room to throw on a bit of frame gen, which will probably smoothen that frame time graph off as well. But it's actually not that bad, which is quite surprising. What we like in motion, I wish it would stop doing that. It takes objects away as well. In motion, it's very clean. Like, it stays very sharp in motion. All those fine details on the roof, they're going to be a nightmare, aren't they? But saying that, it handles them quite well.
Was that a kraken? Or at least a very large octopus.
I wish it would stop bloody doing that. But these plants look incredible. So the only thing that I can really point out, which is definitely something of note, something noteworthy, is his tail. It's out here. Anything to take notice of out here? Probably not much more than that. We'll end up driving this on for hours. So, and what I want to make sure is, oh shit, I probably just went too far. I don't want to do a save point.
Nefarious' ship. We've got to find a way up there. The taxis leaving from that stand are driving right by him. Then we better not miss our ride.
So what we're going to do is, hopefully we haven't done a save point. Because ideally, I want to go back to that same area where we can at least get one image in the same place. Glass reflections are insane. So, anyone playing this with this level of upscale, if you just played this game and you hadn't seen it running in any other way, because what this compares to native, I've got no idea, but I can tell you now. If someone just gave you this game and this was turned on, running with this in these settings, I have no doubt you would play it and just think that it looks insane. Because there's nothing that stands out to me that makes me think that looks dodgy. Like all of that fine detail on all of the foliage up there just looks awesome. So I'm going to leave it there. Let's just hold a little zoom in. This is awkward because trying to then line up something. We stand here, this little angle here, just off the last step. And we aim at that part. We'll hold it there for like a couple of minutes, and then we'll try and remember to do this. There's a few little fine details there. There's some metallic objects. I've got my fuzzy tail. I'm not sure it should look like that. I'm gonna guess it probably shouldn't. The rest of it looks awesome. Like his details and all like the little lever work and on his gun and stuff look really good. The reflections and stuff on the robot look really good. Or his backpack, whatever. All the details on the little flowers at the top of, obviously, the flowers, so those look really good. So yeah, very impressive. Right, I'm going to end it there, and then we're going to load up the 9070 XT. We're going to check it out on there. We're back, and we are back on the 1790 XT. So we're just going to hold here for a minute, just so that we have some kind of footage if we decide to throw anything on a side-by-side, but we'll do that. We'll run into the settings, we'll quick check the settings. We should be, call me out if I make a mistake, but we should be at the same settings, so we should be pretty much everything cranked. We're on RT. We are using FSR4 at performance, and we're not using frame generation. So like I said, obviously a comparison between the two, FSR4, DLSS4, both being kind of, you know, promoted for their performance level upscale, which to be fair is very impressive. So yeah, this will be a good kind of look at both of them side by side. They both look great, let's be completely honest. So we've done that. We're going to get into the settings. We're going to check out and make sure that we are correct. Hopefully we are correct, because if not, you have to, unfortunately with this game, it tends to make you want to restart it. Let me just check that my audio is yeah, that's fine. In fact, let me just to be sure, crank this stuff down. It should go down with the master volume, but you never know. So graphics, we're at 4K. There's no VSync. We are frame generation off. We are using AMD's FSR3, which we'll check in a minute to make sure the FSR4 is active. I'm 100% it is. We are at performance level. Graphics, we are very high. We're as high as we can go. So 16 anisotropic, ultra on the shadow quality. Obviously, ambient occlusion is turned off because we are ray tracing. Screen space reflection is very high. All the ray tracing stuff very high. Oh, object range. Was that supposed to be at 6? I think that was supposed to be at 6. Damn. I'm not... Oh, I'm going to have to go off my head now because I'm doing all of this live. I think that should be 6. Hopefully I haven't got it wrong. I don't even know if that will change. It might make me want to restart the game. We're not going to. We're just going to roll with it. So level of detail, ultra, very high, very high, very high. Phantom dash was on, and then depth of field is off, bloom's off, chromatic aberration is off, motion blur is off. FOV is default, sharpness is at 8, which I believe is the same that we were using on the other one. And then the full screen effects and the screen shake are on. So, hopefully, that didn't tell me that I had to do anything then, did it? No. Hopefully, we are using what should be the right settings. It will make us do this strange cutscene because it wants us to do stuff. We don't want to watch it. Let's just buy it. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Now can I get on with the game? Nope. I have to fight the goons. So let's quick fight these dudes, and then hopefully we can have a little bit of a look around and see where we are at. No! I took hits. This thing's got no range. Where am I getting shot from? There. It's quite busy in these sections to actually see what's going on. There's so much I mean, graphically, it's like... Oh, there's a guy there, look. One more. Where? There he is. He's hiding behind the tree. We've got this. So let's get some ammo. Let's just pick up everything that we need to around the vicinity. And then we're going to have a quick look around, see if we can notice anything that looks crazy. Now, I had to, unfortunately, I couldn't go back to where my saved area was. I did actually make it to a save point, so I just had to play the start through to this point. And I did notice that there's a very similar thing with FSR4. Let's just check. Let's hope that it comes up on the screen. So, yes, hopefully that's coming up on the recorded screen that you can see FSR4 is showing status as active. So, that's good. That's all fine. I assumed it was, because if it was FSR3 at performance, it would look probably terrible. This seems to have the same thing with his tail, where it's kind of got like this fuzziness to it, which I'm not sure if it should be like that or not. You can see it's kind of, as I move around by his leg, it's got this kind of weird pixelated edge to it. Maybe that's normal. I'm not quite sure if it's bringing up... Maybe... We'll have to look at the side-by-sides. His face looks a little bit flat there, as if maybe it's not quite picking up his fur as much. And I'm not sure if it's picking up. If he'd stop turning, that'd be really good. Ooh. Big hitch. I'm not sure if it's picking up the detail of his helmet. We'll have a look at that again in a different area. Like the graining of the leather looks like it's maybe a bit flatter. What were we trying to look at last time? Everything else. Like the little details, like these little lamps or whatever they are that I'm trying to point at. Those hold up quite well. Very similar to what DLSS did. The ones up there, they flicker a little bit. I can't point my gun at them because my gun won't go that high, but the ones at the top of the screen, they flicker a little bit on movement, but there's nothing there. That's not something... All of those little ones back there, which I would have thought you wouldn't even see beforehand. All of this foliage out here looks very clean. So, let's move on. We'll just run to where we did on the last one. I'm probably going to try and run a little bit faster, because if not, this video is going to be like a 40-minute video. There's no way around that, unfortunately. I probably should have moved faster in the first video that I did, knowing that I was going to be doing two. Like I said, it's not an apples to apples on systems. This one's running obviously the 7800X3D. You know, different motherboard, different RAM. It is 6000 CL30 RAM, so it's decent stuff in both systems. They're both good builds. No, we don't need problems. We need solutions, my little robot friend. Yeah, his tail definitely does very similar to what... Now, I haven't played this at native. So, and I can't really go in and start changing. Yeah, it's got like this fuzziness to it, which looks maybe a little bit odd. I can't go in and start changing the settings, so we're just going to have to deal with that. It still looks very good, like bearing in mind exactly what we're running here. I'll try and be a little bit quicker to get to another area. I'm trying to speed it up a bit just for the sake of recording, so I'm not trying to give an unfair analysis of this GPU in any way. I just know that 40-minute videos tend to upset people. And unfortunately I did overspend time probably explaining what I was doing a bit more in the first one. So on memory, I think there's a few things that we looked at over here, so we'll try and do the same. I remember looking at all of these little rings up here as they disappear down into the distance, and that all looks very good. On movement, you can see it wobbles a tiny bit. Even on YouTube, it probably won't show up, but that's very good. You had a little bit of like a bit of a shimmer off the edge of this building, which maybe shows up. Yeah, a little bit just on that edge. It might just be like a lighting thing. It all looks very similar in that regard. Like, I don't think, like, you're going to probably be pretty impressed regardless of which one of these. I think the performance, okay, so that's probably those tool things that we looked at on the 4080. You can tell that they're doing a little bit more of something. They are kind of, I wouldn't say they're breaking up. They're retaining pretty well, if I'm being honest. They're kind of shimmering a little bit more. Above my head, looking up at the little lamppost or what they are, there's a bit of movement up there. Down the side of this building. Very similar, in fairness. That effect is annoying. It's a little bit more unstable. Probably down this edge of this on movement, as you can see. It was probably a little bit more stable on the DLSS4. But, like, that is kind of crazy. I mean, I'm already kind of thinking that you would... There's maybe stuff that we will see that will favour one, and there's maybe stuff that we will see that will favour the other in this video. But I'll tell you what, if you were using either, I think that you're going to be pretty damn satisfied. I didn't think FSR would ever look this good. I've seen FSR performance in quite a few games since I've been running AMD GPUs, and it looks absolutely terrible. And this, oh, I wish it would stop. Wow. Is there a way to stop that? It's like, yeah, this foliage here, look how good it looks, and then it disappears, which is incredibly helpful. Oh, here it's back. It's back. Like, all of this stuff here is very crisp and clean looking. There's a lot of detail in this that is really well retained. I don't know what it's holding up with the reflections. Like, the reflections aren't... I didn't really look at those, to be honest, on the other one, so I'm not going to make too much of a camera. They're quite noisy. I don't know what there is. I'm not actually sure if there's any type of... There's certainly not something that you can choose in the menu of like array reconstruction in this. So I'd imagine they're probably quite noisy on both. I think it does look like, again, we'll have to look back. there's definitely like a disocclusion around him running over this floor where you can see he's got like he's suddenly got quite a halo around him, looking like around his ears and his mouth now, more to like the right hand side, and then below his arm on the left hand side. And there's quite a lot of, I didn't look at that on the other one, I didn't notice it, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't there. So we can probably, when we watch back the video, check that out a little bit just to see if it did the same. Again, nothing major. The one thing I have noticed on this is there's probably on this system, I feel like, again, we'll look back, I feel like there's bigger performance dips maybe. Hopefully I've got the thing right that we were on 6 on the RT detail draw. Because if not, I'm going to have to redo this again. And then here, obviously, we've got these it's hard, it's a bit awkward to find details in this, which is something that will stand out. Those plants look like they're dead now, compared to... oh, it's because it's doing that thing, isn't it? But all those details look quite good. Now, I think I lined up... Where was I? I was about here. And then I was pointing down at this thing here. We'll hold that for a minute, because that will give us a... You can see his tail's doing that kind of funny thing. The rest of it looks quite clean. Maybe a little bit more noisy on the little robot on his back. And the flowers, I don't know. Maybe those flowers don't look quite as clean detail, but maybe they do. It's very hard, and that's what I say. Like, going between the two of the... If you played with either of these, you're going to have... Because this is good. This is a very good image for performance upscale. So there might be a slight difference between the two of them. But if in actual gameplay, if you were playing with either of these, I think you're going to be really happy. So we'll just hold the pose for another few seconds, and then I'm going to cut this recording there so I can put it all together. And then we'll take a look at it, and then by the time it gets sorted and gone to YouTube, it will look absolutely terrible, and people will tell me that it's a blurry mess, unfortunately, because that is the way it goes. So I'm going to leave this here, and then we're going to put it together. We're going to go through it, and we're going to see what we think. Okay, so that minute of pausing I subjected you to now comes into play. So we now have a little bit of a side-by-side of the two areas that we held. And this is good, because this gives us a good comparison. Now, it's two very good images. I will say, from my first impressions, the edge does go to DLSS4. It does retain a bit more from what I can see. If you see something different, point it out in the comments. I miss stuff, and people will say I'm biased towards NVIDIA. That's fine. I don't mind someone saying that, but give me the reason for saying it. Do you know what I mean? If you're just going to blatantly say you're biased towards NVIDIA, give me the reason of what you see that gives an indication of that, because this is very good from both. You would play this, as I've just said in the video, you would play this on both very happily. You would have a good time. For performance upscale, it is very impressive. What FSR has done from where it was only a couple of weeks ago to where it is now is incredible. So there are a few areas just in this image where I can see there is detail that isn't quite being replicated on the FSR side, and it's very small stuff. So even just like the textures that are showing on the back edge of this bench here, they look a little bit more in this area. Even probably actually ground textures. There seems like there's a bit more texture work around here where it looks a little bit more lost here. Maybe a little bit on his boots. I did notice when I was playing the game that his leather work all looks a little bit smoother, whereas it looks a little bit more textured. And there's probably a bit more out in the further stuff, like this edge of the building down here is holding up a little bit better. This one's gone quite jagged. Probably some of the details here remain a bit sharper looking. There's more on this, obviously, this stamped metalwork type look. It's probably lost a little bit of the details there. It's very small stuff. It's not big stuff. Playing the game, you're not really going to notice it. But I have to obviously point out the things that I see, and that just gives a slight edge. Even like when you look at kind of around here, the kind of texture work around the edge of this spinning disc, it's holding up very still. Actually, like this was the impressive thing about DLSS4, how it remained to have this very crisp, high definition look to it. And FSR4 is doing a great job. It's not quite there, I don't think, but to be this close is very impressive. And like I said, when I was just playing on that with FSR4, I had no problems playing that. It's just literally the very, very small fine details. So the other thing that I did notice while the clip was playing was there was a little bit more of, I don't know where it was actually. Something I thought in the background had a little bit of a shimmer to it, but I can't really see it now. Oh no, there. So this thing here is flickering a bit, whereas on this one it's stable. So just that little one thing there, and it's kind of doing it on and off, and I assume it's being triggered by stuff moving past it more than if it was just stationary. So on the DLSS side, it's staying obviously very stable. On this side, it has a bit of a shimmer to it. But as far as it goes, two very good images. His face does look a bit softer, maybe lacking a little bit of the fur detail, whereas on this one not. Again, like I said, if you see something, point it out. It's hard for me to look at all of this and see exactly everything. Whenever I put videos up, people generally do comment on something that they've seen that I've missed. So let me know what you think. Obviously, moving objects flying past look fine. We'll go on to, hopefully, at some point. Yes, okay. So this was the next image. And again, it was something that I noticed playing it, and you can probably see it there. It's not substantial. I think it might stand out a bit more when I actually run the video with the full gameplay. But it did seem like the leather texture on his helmet looked a little bit more obvious. And you can see probably even there on his boot, it looks a lot smoother. So there's a little bit less of the detail of like the leather grain. The leather grain looks a little bit more pronounced. Same thing with his tail, fuzzy. It's fuzzy on both. It almost looks like it has a little bit more of a pixelated edge on DLSS. Maybe a little bit softer on that, but that might just be where I've paused it, so we'll have to check that. Other than that, I don't know. I don't think that there's a great deal difference in this image. Now you could probably, well, you obviously could. You could sharpen this image a little bit more. You could soften this image a little bit more. You could maybe narrow them out so they look a little bit closer to each other. They're both set to 8 in sharpness. At 10, I found it too sharp on both of them. But yeah, obviously I'm doing this in real time. I haven't looked at this. I'm looking at this for the first time whilst I am recording this. And other than that, I don't see a lot. That leaf there looks a lot kind of more high definition and maybe a little bit more of a shine to it. Why that would be the case, I don't know. Maybe if it's holding its definition more, it's going to hold the glossy look to it a little bit more. And probably the same with the whatever it is on his back. That almost looks like it has, his eyes have a little bit more of a green glow on that, whereas they go kind of very kind of bright glow on the, which is interesting. Other than that, there's not a great deal in it, and that goes to show how well, like DLSS, we know it definitely looks a little bit I think that's maybe just a bit more shadowed. I wasn't in the same place. It's always hard when you think of where you were compared to where you actually ended up to put yourself in the same position. So it's a very slight difference, a very slight difference. Very good. Very good for DLSS4, very good for FSR4, considering where it's come from to be at where it is now. I'd still have to probably give... I was wondering what the hell was going on then. I'll probably still have to give the edge to DLSS4 just in that kind of... It does look a little bit higher. Oh yeah, you can see his tail still looks... I think it was just where I paused it. So as it moves, it kind of has this weird look to it. But like I said, I haven't looked at it that much at native or at different quality upscales. So what it's supposed to look like compared to what it looks like at performance, I don't know. But very good from both of them. Good image. Very stable. And yeah, overall, I'm impressed.